I chose Wix for my business because of its massive scope for functionality and
Howdy, my totally tubular gamers, and we're back with another Rockstar game ranking video, and today's is going to be on the much beloved Midnight Club series. Developed primarily by Rockstar San Diego, the Midnight Club series is a series of high-speed racing games that take place in urban cities. It was actually initially inspired by the real-life Japanese street racing group known as Midnight Club that hosted illegal street races on Bayshore Route in the greater Tokyo area. However, after the first game, the series quickly evolved into its own beast entirely and has gone on to be one of the most beloved racing series of them all, and it's some of Rockstar's best games and some of the best driving games you'll find on the PS2 and PS3 respectively. These games are beloved for their high-speed action, their really customizable cars, a great selection of cars for the 2000s, excellent soundtracks, and really giving you a great sense of speed, in addition to some really cool environments that you'll race through. And with such a beloved series of racing games, I thought, why not rank them? Let's rank all the Midnight Club games. Midnight Club is definitely Rockstar Games' number 3 series, behind Red Dead and GTA, of course, and there actually hasn't been a game since 2009. But in between 2000 to 2009, there was 4 main Midnight Club games. However, each Midnight Club has gotten multiple versions released. So for this ranking video, I'm going to be combining all the different versions of each Midnight Club game into one entry to keep things simple. Otherwise, this would be like 9 or 10 entries for essentially 4 games. When it comes to my relationship with Midnight Club, I did not play these games growing up or back in the day. I played them all over the last year or so I don't have any fond memories with them or anything, so it'll be pretty unbiased here in that aspect. We're going to be ranking these games based on their sense of speed, their locations, how customizable the cars are, how much fun I had, how rubber bandy the AI. We're kind of just looking at everything here. And I will first off by say there is no bad Midnight Club game, it's just which ones are better. And so what do I think is the worst, air quotes, of the Midnight Club games? Oh yeah, don't forget to share, like, sub, and comment your favorite Midnight Club. I think the weakest of the Midnight Club games is the original Midnight Club Street Racing released on the PS2 back in 2000. While it was a launch title for the PS2 and it did set the stage for the later Midnight Club games, I really do think that the other Midnight Club games just totally blow this game out of the water, and I don't think it's aged all that gracefully. The plot, if you can even call it that, was as basic as it gets. It's just about a bunch of urban street racers known as the Midnight Club who race for pride, power, and glory. The main gameplay loop is actually incredibly basic. You really just drive around this kind of open area and look for other people to race. They're marked on your map, you drive up to them, you flash your lights or honk, and then, yeah, you just end up racing them, and that's the whole game. It's just a series of races. Sometimes you race one person at a time, sometimes you race 5 people at a time. There's really not all that much to it. You just race, 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 and you get new cars as you race, and eventually you go through a couple different locations, and you do the same thing at all those locations. You just race. The driving in this game is alright. I mean, it gets totally blown away by the other Midnight Club games, but this is serviceable, it's fine enough. The physics, I will say, are kind of wonky. It can feel a bit clunky sometimes when you're doing like big turns, and the physics overall can be just kind of questionable. And then on the topic of questionable, we have the AI, which has plenty of rubber banding and can also be kind of questionable, where it just magically catches up to you at the very end. But the driving seemed fine enough, the presentation was alright, also everything looked decent enough. The music, sadly, is just totally forgettable. I couldn't even tell you any of the music in this game. And I thought the frame rate was also kind of suspicious. It did drop sometimes when things were getting a little crazy. And yeah, Midnight Club 1 is pretty alright. It's pretty short. I beat it in one night, maybe like 4 or so hours. And I mean, it was the one that started the series, but nowadays I can't really recommend anybody come back to it. I mean, you can get it dirt cheap, but you might as well just play the other Midnight Club games. And in the number 3 spot, we have Midnight Club 2. Now, Midnight Club 2, I think, is actually a pretty big improvement on Midnight Club 1. Rockstar really knew what they wanted to do with the series and made some well-needed refinements to just about everything. The plot is basically exactly the same as the first game, where you're just racing a bunch of elite racers around a couple cities, this being LA, Paris, and Tokyo, but it does have some fun characters thrown in there, and the voice acting is pretty cheesy and pretty silly for the time. But the general gameplay has been refined by quite a bit. Yes, the main gameplay hook is you drive around an open area, honk or flash your lights at people and race them, but it has been improved in a number of different ways. First off, the worlds, the open worlds that you actually drive around in, are much better than the first game. The first game had very flat, boring maps. This game, not like that at all. These maps have a ton of detail, there's a bunch of shortcuts, alleyways, slopes, declines, and there's just a lot more to these maps that make the racing a lot more interesting. There's also more than just like one racing type. There's a bunch of different racing types to make different types of events. Sometimes all the checkpoints you have to race to are not in order, so you have to drive around the map and try to figure out what the fastest route is, and that can lead to some crazy experimentation. The cars control great. The controls are just great in general. The cars feel a lot better. They're super light. They can turn on a dime, and it really fits the Midnight Club aesthetic. It is super arcadey. I mean, you can even control the cars in midair, and it introduced a few of the Midnight Club techniques that would become a staple of the series. The game also introduced bikes, and there is hang time. I never really use these bikes because I just crash my car too damn much. You're going so fast in this game. And speaking of going fast, by the end of this game, you are going blistering fast, and this game actually gets really freaking difficult. Like, I was kind of shocked with how difficult Midnight Club 2 gets. I was like, holy shit, I've been on this race for like 45 minutes. This is hella hard. I'm not this awful at the game. Like, the AI are stupid good. There's tons of cars in the way. The vans, the minivans, they always get in your fucking way, and you just hate the minivans. No, Midnight Club 2 is not messing around. It is actually a very difficult game. One thing that wasn't totally improved from the first game is the customization. I think it's pretty lacking and very basic in Midnight Club 2. It's like you can change the color. Cool. I will say the music, though, the music is pretty great in Midnight Club 2. I would say it's a solid improvement from Midnight Club 1. That's really all I can say about Midnight Club 2 in general, is just it's a very nice improvement on the first game, and I can actually recommend it.
Epidemic Sound provides you with restriction-free music and sound effects that you can use across all of your content without having to worry about it getting
So I think the second best Midnight Club game is the latest, which is Midnight Club LA, released in 2009 on PS3 and Xbox. Midnight Club LA really came out at a different time in Rockstar Games' history. They were really shifting away from that cartoony arcade feel and were going for something a lot more detail-oriented, realistic, and sometimes almost simulation-based that Grand Theft Auto 4 really started, and Midnight Club LA, as a result, feels a lot more rooted than any of the other Midnight Club games, but it still is pretty crazy at times. It does still have all the Midnight Club staples, though. You drive around an open world, this time being exclusively LA, challenging people to races. You start in this beater piece of shit car, basically, and eventually upgrade your way up to nicer, cooler, better, faster cars with a ton of abilities like slowing time down, boosting, and even more. The story is actually different from the other Midnight Club games, particularly because there really is a story here. You play as an unnamed character who came from the Midwest. He comes to LA to be the best in the game, and he's just trying to race everyone and be better than everyone. There's a bunch of eccentric characters here to try to stop him or be friends with them, and yeah, he just races like everybody. And a lot of these characters, they're pretty goofy. They got some silly voice acting, and the writing can be a bit cringeworthy at times, but you know, I like the game's cheesy attitude. I won't lie though, a lot of times I did roll my eyes, especially at the main character, where I was just like, come on dude, really? Like, why even talking? I just would rather have nobody talk sometimes. Now, because this game is just LA and not a couple cities, Rockstar was really able to focus in on the detail and how realistic they wanted it to be to LA, and I gotta say, as someone who's been to LA a couple dozen times, this is very realistic to LA. I mean, aside from the traffic, you'd never move this fast in LA, no matter where you are or what time of the day it is, you will never move this fast. But in terms of how the locations are, yes, it is very close to LA, it's very detailed, and I can appreciate that. To be honest though, I would prefer multiple cities rather than one really detailed LA, but this is coming from someone who lives in California also, so take that with a grain of salt. This game is also the only Midnight Club game that lets you drive during daytime, which seems really counterintuitive to what Midnight Club is called. Seems pretty silly, but oh well. This game also has a lot, and I mean a lot more content than the other Midnight Club games. You do a lot more than just regular racing in the big open world here. There are tons of wager races you can make. You can actually do pink slip races. There's a lot of are more than just driving up to somebody's car and honking at them and racing. It's actually pretty cool. And because of all this game is a lot longer than the other Midnight Club games. Like, it took me like almost 30 hours to beat. I didn't do like every mission either. I did most of them, but that is way longer than the other Midnight Club games. And just because it's way longer doesn't actually mean it's all that much better. I will be the first to say that the pacing in this game is not all that great. You are in the junker cars for way too long that feel very sluggish, and the beginning couple hours of the game, if not like beginning almost 10 hours of the game, do not feel anywhere near as fun as the other Midnight Club games. It's only the last like 5 to 10 hours where the game gets really fast, really crazy, doesn't feel sluggish, and just feels more like the old Midnight Clubs. Also, this game can feel very repetitive with how long it is and the fact that it's only the one map. Now, when everything clicks, when everything comes together, when you start going really fast, when you get a really fast car or a really fast bike, and by the way, the bikes rule in this game, way better than 2 and 3, and you know the map like the back of your hand, and you start getting to the fun, crazy events, this game really comes together, and it might be the most fun I've had with any of the Midnight Club games. Like, it really is that great when you're racing super fast towards the end of the game. It's a shame you have to go through so many hours of just kind of tedium and repetitiveness to get here, but where this is at the very end of the game, it's awesome. And the last thing I want to say is that the music is fantastic in this game, maybe the best in the whole series, and the customization and just car selection, superb. Great, maybe some of the best, if not the best, car customization I've seen in gaming outside of Forza Horizon. Despite Midnight Club LA's flaws, I still think it is a great game. It is one of the best Midnight Club games, and it is just barely not my favorite Midnight Club game. We're talking just barely. I have no problem recommending it, and you can play it on modern Xbox consoles, so there's that also. But my favorite of all the Midnight Club games has to be Midnight Club 3. When I played through Midnight Club 3, I was really blown away with how great it is, and I have no problem saying that it is one of the best racing games probably ever made. And when it comes to street racing games, it doesn't really get any better than Midnight Club 3. It's fantastic. The story is about as basic as Midnight Club 2. You just really want to be the best and race the Midnight Club people or race the elite people or whatever. The game has San Diego, Atlanta, and Detroit as maps, and there's also Tokyo as a bonus if you have certain versions of the game. Each map feels decently detailed, not as much as LA of course, but it still feels more detailed than Midnight Club 2 with a bunch of nooks, crannies, shortcuts, jumps, etc. And I really did like all 3 of the maps. I thought they were all pretty good. Tokyo really is the Midnight Club 2 map just thrown in there with some new races, but I mean, I'm not going to count it too much. It's a total bonus, and it's not even part of the main story. The game is a pretty decent improvement from Midnight Club 2 and improves on just about everything from Midnight Club 2. The first thing they looked at was the customization, because it was really weak in the first 2 games. It's really strong in Midnight Club 3. It's not as strong as LA's, but it is actually quite good in Midnight Club 3, and you can get some really cool looking cars here. The vehicle selection is actually quite good in Midnight Club 3, and this game would also bring back all the techniques from 2, including the boost, and would introduce some of the superpowers that would go on to be in LA and eventually Grand Theft Auto 5, like slowing everything down so you can drive through some of the traffic when you're just going at an insane speed. This game has a very good sense of speed. In fact, it is probably the best sense of speed in maybe the whole series, tied with LA. However, unlike LA, you have that sense of speed almost immediately. Like, even the slowest cars in this game still feel pretty fast, and you still go at a pretty high speed, and the controls are just great. It feels super arcadey still, and the cars can turn on a dime, and I just really had a blast going through this map as fast as possible. There's a lot more variety in the racing as well. There's different types of racing. There's a bunch of side races you can do, side bets you can do. You can make a bunch of money from doing these. The game is probably almost twice as long as Midnight Club 2, and really it's as long as you want it to be, and it doesn't go on too long either since a lot of it is optional. And while the game does get challenging, in fact near the end it gets very challenging, I don't think it gets to Midnight Club 2's level, and I don't think the AI cheat as bad as they did in 2. The rubber banding isn't as crazy and ridiculous here. And the presentation is also very strong. It looks quite a bit better than Midnight Club 2. And it is cool that they tried to add in weather effects like fog and rain, but unfortunately the rain just kills the frame rate in this game, and it makes it way harder when you're driving in the rain. Something about Rockstar games and rain, I swear, they just can't get it right. Any of these games. Then the soundtrack, yeah, the soundtrack is pretty fantastic. It's probably tied with LA for me in terms of which one I like more, but I do love that main theme. Cars real big, house real big, all that stuff. That one's big, that's a good one. But Midnight Club 3, you really can't go wrong with it. It's probably one of the most beloved Rockstar games, and it's a great racing game because it just does everything right that it should. It's fast, it's got a lot of customization, it's fun, it's engaging, it's challenging, the maps are well designed, everything's got a good attention to detail, the cars are great, like, it's all there. It's everything you'd want in a racing game, and it's one of my favorite racing games ever. LA's great, 3's my favorite, and I'd love to know what everyone else's favorite is, because that's it for this video. That's it for the Midnight Club ranking video. So if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, sub, comment your favorite Midnight Club. I hope everyone has a great Christmas, New Year's, all that good stuff. We all love Midnight Club. I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say we want Midnight Club to return. No more GTA Online. Please bring Midnight Club back.